Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various wind for the Snow Mountain 9-hole cup, a full 9 of the Greenberg slopes with new hole locations. In this video I will give you my best advice on how to attack these holes, also explain the differences in hole locations as well if there is something new to think about. I'm adapting, even though I'm using high level clubs, I'm adapting my adjustments and my shot to be possible to be applied with lower level clubs as well. So please listen to my explanation, just don't steer yourself blind on the club levels, because I promise you will be able to play the shots that I'm doing this playthrough in many different levels of different levels of apocalypse, also different drivers. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button, that helps the channel immensely. Also subscribe to it and turn on the notifications. Everything like that you can do for free and it helps the channel a lot. Scan the QR code here on the screen, or you use the link patreon.com/golfclashtommy that you have in the description down below. That will take you to our paid guides where you can get the ultimate tournament guides, and we do for 9-hole cups alone. We also do with 18-hole tournaments. We do tour guides as well. We have something for everyone. You can start as low as $1.50 and start another journey in how being a much better player in Golf Clash. Info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. For hole number 1, the drive. Here we are going to pin the ball down for a wedge or a short iron. I personally prefer the short iron because it's going to be much less rings to pull than what it would be if you're playing with wedge. But we start with the drive. I'm using 3.9 topspin, 3 right spin, ball guidelines, center down the fairway, and I'm playing with a power 3 ball. Now adjustment, it's going to be max plus 15. And we are making the adjustment, center the ball and trying to hit. Perfect. Again, goal is to get the ball down to short iron, preferred to be around the minimum distance of our club. And the reason that is something that is suggested is due to the fact that playing from min distance always allows them to have a solid reference. Then it's all about having the elevation correct, and it's going to then drop. But now let's take a look at the second shot we are having here, which is once again short iron from absolute min distance. So we are putting the target at min club, then we're applying whatever backspin needed to get the ball guideline to be into the hole, and then adjustment is minimum distance minus 10. What you need to have in mind though, that if there is some sort of tailwind, you can't do what I'm doing here, because then you will pull into min club. So what to do then? The thing you do then is that you push up somewhere between 3 to 5 rings, depending on what you feel confident with. And then you're using something called rings from min. So you're then playing it for every ring, you play 1% slider, and then adding the elevation minus 10% and obviously P3 numbers as you're playing with a P3 ball. For hole number 2, the new hole location has not moved much. It has moved a little bit further back and a little bit more left, but it's really not going to change any way we are playing the hole, in my opinion. Starting at the right side, the blue ring by the rough line with a poke 8, 5.8 topspin and half a bar of left spin. Max plus 10 is what I'm making as per adjustment. Once that is done, I'm going to center the ball and do my very best to hit perfect. Perfect ball it is. We are bouncing on the fairway and down the fairway, and we're looking for a consistent rollout. And listen to that word, consistent, because it's very easy to put ourselves in a spot where it's either glitch rollout or it's dead bounces. I'm playing for dead bounces more or less every time, because that is, in my opinion, easier to control. Now for the second shot, I'm going to play with my sniper, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to check where minimum distance are, I'm going to check where maximum distance are if I would be doing everything properly. I did not do that here in the video, as you can see, but that's something I recommend to do to make a better guess than what I'm doing. Ball guideline to be slightly short of pin as we're having tailwind, trying to align the ball guideline with the wind's direction to not have to mess around with that much. 30% elevation, true club distance. Make sure to hit perfect, because if you're hitting great, you will not have a chance to drop if you're adjusting properly. A great right here though is missing exactly where a great right should, and that's something that we can bring with us, at least, that if we can just hit perfect with the solid adjustment we had, we're going to see ourselves having a good chance for a drop. Hole number 3, here I would prefer to go for a rough bump in any wind. However though, in this wind, it's gonna be a bit technical. And the reason for that is that we're going to adjust from a lower to a higher point, which means in Golf Clash world, we're gonna gain distance. So if we're not using the circle break underpower, we are going to miss rough. So that's why it is a technical one. If the wind is more straight or wind coming right to left, you're never going to use any underpower. But I truly wanted, after having 6 practices in a row only displaying this type of wind angle, I wanted to go for the rough bump all the way for y'all, because now the pin stands more left on the green. It plays into a better sticky spot with that rough bump, and I do believe that that could be an extremely consistent hole-in-one if you're just fine. But if wind coming left to right, you need to go with some underpower to compensate, which is not ultimate, but it's most definitely something that I would recommend if you're playing for the hole-in-one. The other way to play is to bounce on the fairway further back, but we all know from experience that that's never something that will consistently drop for an hole-in-one. Medium distance plus 10 is the adjustment that I'm using in the video. On hole number 4, this pin has not moved that much. It's very similar to how it was before, so we're gonna play the same way as we have done before. 5.8 topspin, 3 right spin. We are playing with 5.8 topspin to allow even lower level apocalypse to be able to follow the shot, and here using too much topspin will actually risk you rolling into the rough at the top, and that would just be stupid. Max no elevation of tee. And the only other way to play this hole, in my opinion, is to lay up to the top right. But the issue that will give us is that laying up there on the top right will be giving us a very elevated second shot and have to be played with a long iron or a wood club. Here, from this spot that you can see in the video, we're going to play with a short iron, and that's going to be much easier than having to play from the top right. My recommendation here is to either play from complete min, if we can have min distance closer to green. Now when we are in that kind of little bumpy area, what I'm doing here is I'm pushing up 10 rings and then applying whatever spin that gets the ball guideline just short of the hole with my thorn. I'm playing it then, every ring I push up, again 10 rings, so I play 10% slider, which is 10% club with 10% elevation, and then whatever power ball I'm using. So in this instance, P3 ball or P3 numbers. Center the ball and hit perfect, and this will give you a very good chance to lock in an eagle on hole 4, which can be made very tricky if you're not getting down that fairway path, but we're doing so, and then we have an easy eagle. Hole number 5, here we're gonna play with our sniper and go for a rough bump, and that's because we do have a crosswind or a headwind. If we do have a tailwind, I recommend to go with the grizzly and bounce further back. Sure, you can still do a backspin shot here if you would like, but now with the new hole location being more left than before, I don't see that being as equally good as it once were. So here I'm using topspin and a little bit of a right spin, and trying to have a ball guideline that goes as straight as possible. Therefore, I moved my target a little bit more right than I was initially. Ball guideline 1 green square through the hole here when I'm having slight headwind. Adjustment in the video is minimum distance with no elevation, but I do recommend to play minimum distance plus 5 as it needed that little extra. Center the ball, hit perfect. You can hit great balls here and you will still hit the rough. So the rough bump is honestly safer than what it looks. And You know me, I love rough bumps, but the rough bump is, in fact, a much better way to attack for hole-in-ones on a consistent basis. And what it does is, once you hit the rough with your first bounce, it's going to somewhat remove, not completely remove, but will remove a lot of the effect of the wind from the first to the second bounce, for an example. And that's going to be super helpful for you from looking at it from a consistent basis. On hole 6, I'm pushing my drive hard. I actually really enjoy this type of drive here because it's normal to bounce on the fairway where we are now, trying to use a lot of topspin and reach. But here, I want to have spins that is 3 left spin, and I'm playing with 5.8 topspin again. So all of you that do have an APOC in at least level 2 or better are able to follow the suggesting spins. White ring by the rough line to the right, adjust max plus 10, max curl to the left, and try to hit perfect. A great right here ends up in the middle of the fairway, and what does that tell me? It tells me that we need to start a little bit more right with our adjustment, otherwise a perfect ball may end up into the rough on the left. But the goal here now is to put myself to around 410 and better, and that is what I'm getting, and I don't have to use that much topspin. Obviously, using more topspin will get you closer to pin, but now we are in a position where we can attack the pin on the second shot. On the second shot, it's very easy to be fooled by where we are. It looks to be very much downhill, but it's mainly that it's downhill by the green, not to where we have the first bounce. So it's very easy to over adjust it like I'm doing here in the video. But what I do recommend to start with is to use all the left spin that you can and leave the ball guideline slightly short of hole, because there's two things. One, the left spin makes us not have to be that close to the rough. Two, also when the ball hits the downslope by the green, it will get some extra speed. So in that case, by leaving the ball guideline short, we are compensating. A great ball to the right is actually helpful here. You can see here now that I'm hitting the fairway and then missing left. But why is that, you may ask? It's because I played that one 25% elevation and instead of playing it no elevation, which in the end I don't know why I did that, but it's no elevation, not 25% elevation like I'm playing in the video, and then you will have a ball that is around the hole, but such a long distance wood club is always going to be difficult to drop consistently. Hole number 7, the pin has now moved more left than before. Other than that, it's the same type of play here. Headwinds are a little bit more difficult than crosswinds and tailwinds, in my opinion. You can see as well that there is a slight little sticky spot there as well. Adjust should be max plus a 10 with our sniper. Now, that's not really the true elevation, as we're not playing from max club, but that's the adjustment of the video. Center the ball, hit perfect, and I'm using 1.4 bars of topspin in headwind here. This to make sure that the ball guideline will not be as compressed and staying short in line. You can see here it comes down, needed just approximately 0.2 more to get that one to drop, but a safe birdie here on hole number 7. On hole number 8, we're going to play up the left-hand side if we do have crosswind or headwind. If we do have a tailwind, we're actually going to try to go for green. Now, with the new hole location being more left than before, it actually opens up to go for a hole-in-one in a pretty decent way, in my opinion. Because before it stands more right, and you had all the rough and all the sand, and that was a bit difficult to reach. So, but in the end, in a headwind, crosswind, we're laying up on the left. Max plus 15 is adjustment. Center the ball and hit perfect. We're gonna see the ball getting nicely down the fairway. My only plan here is to have a consistent drive, which is then going to lead me to a grizzly on the approach. And the grizzly in itself is a very accurate club. So it's either, I mean, I'm thinking either grizzly or a sniper from minimum distance, where I obviously would love to have a grizzly over the sniper any day of the week. There is a rough bump possibility from there, definitely something that should be explored if it's not headwind. Now, what I'm doing here is that I'm in the ball guideline, slightly short of pin. Adjustment is going to be true club distance with a 30% elevation. The only thing that I don't like with this wind angle is that the bridge is covering my adjustment path, and I'm going to have to then push my rings instead of pulling, and that's going to be very difficult to be consistent with that. Perfect ball it is, bounces on the fairway and gets down the green, and dropping this one dead center for a lovely eagle here on hole 8, which is, in my opinion, especially in headwind and crosswind, a tough par 4. On hole number 9, they have moved the pin more right, which makes it a little bit more difficult when it comes to attacking the pin from the left-hand side, at least if we're not getting the drive as far down the fairway as we want. Because before we could actually rely on just having the drive on a fairly consistent distance, and we're gonna have no problem to attack the pin by bouncing on the fairway. Now it opens up, or it at least pushing us to do more rough bumps. There is different ways of doing rough bumps on the second shot. Adjust max plus 10. I'm using some top spin, a little left spin, and the goal here is to be as far down the fairway as possible. Now on the second shot, we are going to play a rough bump. I'm playing an aggressive rough bump here, and even if I do miss, because I'm judging the club distance a little bit different, that's the wrong video obviously, we're gonna take a look at this one here. So even if I misjudge the club distance slightly, it's most definitely a decent chance for a drop. So there we do have the rough bump spot, and having a wind like this definitely allow us to actually have more room than you may think. Sure, you can use backspin and land it on the fairway after the rough, but you're gonna have to have a lot of backspin, because otherwise it's going to be difficult for you to get the ball to stop in time. 5% elevation, true club distance, adjusting a little bit too much here, but in the end I'm hitting the rough nicely and missing. Right, what needs to be said though is that the reason I'm aiming with my first bounce on the edge of the rough, due to the fact that I'm pulling down to the bunker, and to compensate for the loss of distance, I'm making sure to aim at the edge of the rough, and then I can pull down into the bunker, and I will not then go short, and I also won't miss the rough either. Hole 9, difficult par 5 has always been, but definitely a chance with the rough bump as our first recommendation. For those that don't feel confident with that, then you go with a bounce up. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various wind for the Snow Mountain 9-hole cup here in Golf Clash the game. A full 9 of the Greenberg slopes with new hole location. If you're looking for the 9-hole cup guides for Expert or Master, make sure to sign up to our 9-hole cup packages. You can actually sign up for them alone. You don't have to deal with the 18-hole tournaments if you don't want to. Scan the QR code here on the screen, or go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Link is in the description down below. Thank you once again for watching. Make sure to hit the thumbs up before you go. That helps the channel a lot. Thank you, and good luck in your Golf Clash game.